Good evening and welcome to Rediscovering Truth Bible Study. We are continuing to read through the Bible, complete Jewish Bible, as we are connecting the Torah, which is the Law of Moses, first five books of the Bible, and then the writings and prophets as well as the Brit Hadashah, which is the New Covenant. We're bringing all that together, and so we read scriptures from all three sections. So we're looking at tonight's topic is when hope fails. Last week we looked at when the righteous suffer. Now we're looking at when hope fails. Now, that is actually sort of a colloquialism. It's a phrase that we use, a euphemism when hope fails. And of course, hope doesn't fail. That actually is not a reality in God's universe. But what that does mean is what we're looking at is when promises have been made to us. You know, when the Lord tells us He's going to do something for us, or we have a desire in our heart, and we fail to see it come to pass in the time period that we thought it should. When we get to the place where we are losing hope. And hope itself hasn't failed, but we're starting to lose our hope. And so we want to look at that because we're going to see this in quite a few chapters today, and I want to give just reveal, God's heart and what He would prescribe for us in those times, because it has happened to many who come before us. It's happened to the patriarchs. It's happened to a lot of people. When we get to the end of our rope, when we just stop believing in the promises, we stop believing that it's going to be fulfilled. We stop believing that it can happen for us. And so we want to look at that for ourselves today. And we're going to start in Genesis chapter 16 with our patriarch Abraham. Genesis chapter 16. We're going to see that hope is going to fail for three people in this chapter, and want to see what they do about it. But then be encouraged to know that, of course, we're not the only ones that this happens with, but to learn some wisdom that we can apply. I actually did a women's word this morning called "Love is Wise," and I actually talked about the wisdom that God wants to place in us, that we can live the way He wants us to live. And that actually is going to be really congruent with the topic that we're going to look at tonight, which is when hope fails. It's really going to minister to you about persevering, keeping the faith, continuing on, even when that's really not what you want to do. So looking at Genesis chapter 16, starting at the first verse in the complete Jewish Bible, and it reads, "Now Sarai, Abram's wife," because their names had not been changed to Sarah and Abraham yet, "had not borne him a child, but she had an Egyptian slave girl named Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, 'Here now, Adonai has kept me from having children, so go in and sleep with my slave girl. Maybe I'll be able to have some children through her.' Abram listened to what Sarai said." Now, let me tell you a little bit of background on this. First off, they acquired Hagar when they were in Egypt. Y'all remember in Genesis chapter 12, it was the famine. They went down into Egypt, and they left with a lot of menservants, maidservants, goods, and all types of things, because the Pharaoh was giving Sarah back to Abram, when he had said that she was his sister and did not also mention that she was his wife. And God cursed Pharaoh's household. So He gave him lots of things, including servants. Now, this is going to be one of those services where they pick up Hagar. Now, in the previous chapter, in chapter 15, we actually looked at it last week, God promised Abram that He was going to make his descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. And He talks about how they're going to go into Egypt and be slaves. And so the Lord has made it very clear, I'm going to give you some descendants. And He had already promised them this. This was promised promised to Abraham in Genesis 12. It's promised again in Genesis 15, and He's telling him, listen, your servant, the head of your household, your head steward, is not going to be your heir. He's not going to inherit all of your stuff. You're going to have an heir from your own body that is going to inherit all these things, and through him, I'm going to give the blessings that I have promised to you. So he knows that this is going to come to pass. But you'll see here that they're getting well up in years, and Sarah has started to lose hope that she could ever have a child. Now, it does not say here that things have changed in her body, but it is possible that she was certainly at that time where maybe she was going through menopause. She actually is past childbearing years. It would make lots of sense, because we know later on when she does finally have Isaac later on in Genesis, she's 80 at that point. She's 80 years old then. So if we look here, she's still probably well in years. And so she has given up hope that she would be the woman that would be used by God in Avram's life to create this lineage. Okay, so she's giving up hope. Now Avram at this point is agreeing with her discouragement, because he goes, okay, fine, I'll take the young maiden and I'll sleep with her, and then we'll have children that way. Now I want to share with you ancient customs in those days. When a maid was given to a married woman, and this is where we get our customs in our wedding. We have the bridesmaids and the groomsmen. The groomsmen would have been armor bearers in the prince or the king's army, in which case they actually were like his bodyguards. So the people who had the big elaborate weddings that we spend thousands of dollars on in the United States, over in the Middle East and in Europe, they would have only been the very wealthy and the royal. Other people didn't have those kind of weddings. They didn't have bridesmaids, they didn't have groomsmen, because these were not posts that you gave to your cousins and your girlfriend. These were people who, this was their position for your life. Does that make sense? So a groomsman was an armor bearer bodyguard for a prince or a king. That's why he was at the wedding, in case somebody tried to kill the king before he got married, or at his wedding, or they tried to kill the prince during his wedding. The groomsmen were there with their swords on their side. It talks about in Song of Songs, where the bride is talking about, look at my bridegroom, look at Solomon, he's ready for all the terrors of night. He's got his swordsmen here. They are prepared with their swords. This is at the wedding. They were prepared with the swords in case war broke out in the middle of the wedding. Enemies would be aware when a royal was getting married, and that would be a great time of vulnerability to try to attack her kingdom. So the groomsmen came ready for war at the wedding. Does that make sense? Yes. The bridesmaids were maidens that would have been from the lower social class. So if you got a higher social class, the royals, the nobility, that's who's getting married, because they have this big, elaborate, expensive wedding. Now you've got the bridesmaids, the maidens that have been given to the bride. So all of them are virgins at this point. But the bride is about to be married, and she's from the upper, the higher echelons of society. She's nobility, royalty. She's given to this prince or this king. The maidens that are now assigned to her, these young women, remain pure for the rest of their lives because they never got married. They were assigned to this woman and her household for the rest of their lives. They were never going to get married. They were never going to have children. And their job was to help this woman run this household. And the reason they were needed is because, again, she's marrying a prince, she's marrying a king, she's got a big mansion, she's got a castle, she can't run that by herself. So even like if you look at Proverbs, the end of Proverbs, where we look at the Proverbs 31 woman, and she's providing for her maids. These are not paid staff. These are the maids that have been assigned to her that are working her household. Those are her maid servants. They're taking care of them. They give them room and board, but they've got a big household because they are going to be in that, that higher level of society, nobility, the wealthy, things like that. Because there was a very serious class system Europe and Middle East during these times. Okay, I mean you didn't traverse that class system. If you were lower class, you stayed lower class. If you were upper class, you stayed upper class. That there was not a traversing of class system. This is why everybody loves the Cinderella story, because that did not happen. You didn't go from being lower class to marrying royalty and now you become royalty. It didn't happen. That's not how that worked. So these maids would have been young virgins assigned to a woman that were never going to get married. They were never going to be married. They were never going to have children. They were assigned to this woman. So for Sarai to say, take my maid, sleep with her, and maybe I can have children through her, that was because this maid belonged to her. That young woman was her servant, her slave for the rest of her life. And any children she bore were considered part of Sarah's household. Does that make sense? So though it was naturally Hagar's child, because Sarah is the woman of the house, and of course has been the baby's fathered by her husband, that would have been considered Sarah's baby. Some women even made the maidens sit on their lap and give birth to the babies at that moment, so that the woman felt like she was giving birth to the baby. I mean, all types of different things happen, but this was not an uncommon custom at all. It's a way for a noble woman to take her slave, her servant, and create a family through this woman because she still had a household. Now, as a woman, that still makes her feel less than a woman. This is Sarah. Still makes her feel less than because she can't have her own children. Does that make sense? That's still, not the best option. but it is another option. So it's going to be like an ancient type Sarah. But again, she's actually like a maiden in the household. She stays in the household. She would never have been given to another man. She never would have been married. So the reason I say all this is because you're going to understand what happens with Hagar now that she's pregnant. You see what I'm saying? Because if I didn't explain all that background, it would just look like two women quarreling. But that's not what's happening here. This is all about status. This is all about, hierarchy, you being higher than me, and now I got one up on you. And so this is what we're going to look at to see what has happened. So remember, Sarah is the first one to lose hope here. She's lost hope because she doesn't believe that God can still use her to mother this lineage that's been promised through Abram. Abram loses hope and agrees with his wife, which he would not have slept with this maidservant. Now, other people did. Other men did. A lot of times just took liberty with the maidservants in their household, but Abram would not have done it. Had Sarah not suggested it, he wouldn't have done it. He believed in his covenant and he was going to keep that covenant. But his wife suggested, who am I to argue with his wife? He sleeps with Hagar and Hagar comes pregnant. So, verse 3. It was after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan that Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her slave girl, and gave her to Abram, her husband, to be his wife. Now, the word wife, honestly, it would have been concubine, because Sarah is the one with the wife rights, or Sarai. This young lady would have been a concubine, meaning she would have had inheritance rights. She would have had rights over the household, but she couldn't be with anyone else. She belonged to Abram after this. Once he touched her, nobody else could ever touch her. He would never sell her from the household, anything like that. Now she's his concubine. Does that make sense? So, verse 4. Abram had sexual relations with Hagar, and she conceived. But when she became aware that she was pregnant, she looked on her mistress with contempt. So what has happened is she was a lowly slave. Now she's going, because remember, he had 180 men that he took with him to go get locked out of Sodom. Y'all remember that? Yes. So this is a huge household. You understand? He is definitely considered a prince in the land. And they actually say that to him later on. You're a great prince in the land, and everybody says this to him. So they give him great honor because if you looked at his encampment, he's going to have like 200 tents around, encamped around his tent. And all of that is his household. Does that make sense? That's some great wealth, and that's going to afford a lot of respect. So he's the head of all of these people. There's 180 men. You add women and children to that, there's so many more. So he's got like 500 people here that he's the head of. Now Hagar, out of all these maidservants, is the only person who's about to bear his son. You see what I mean? So even though she doesn't have many rights and she's concubine, not a wife, her son is now going to be the one to inherit all of that, which I just said. Does that make sense? And so she goes, I know you were supposed to be the woman of the house, but I'm the one having this baby. You see what I mean? And this is where Hagar gets a little hardy because she's been a slave up to this point. And now she's starting to feel the prestige of being the mother of the heir, the one that would be the heir of all of this. Okay? But Sarah, of course, wants to make sure she remembers that she's a slave, because that's what's about to happen. Sarah said to Abram, this outrage being done to me is your fault. True, I gave you my slave girl to sleep with, but when she saw that she was pregnant, she began holding me in contempt. May I not decide who is right, I or you? Now, she's blaming Abram, but of course, y'all remember this was her idea. But she's mad with him, like she's saying, you should have put her in her place. You should have made her know that she was still just a slave. You should have treated her with respect. But clearly, he's being a godly man. He's now slept with this woman. She's pregnant by him. He is treating her with respect. You see what I mean? And so she's, let it go to her head. Verse 6, however, Abram answered Sarai, look, she's your slave girl. Deal with her as you think fit. Then Sarai treated her so harshly that she ran away from her. Now, this is some very interesting household dynamics happening here. Because now that she is Abram's concubine, she was Sarai's maid. Sarai gives her to Abram. She becomes Abram's concubine. Now she's under the protection of the man of the house. You see what I mean? So Sarai was not going to deal with her anymore, even though this woman is now all in her face. So Abram says, from the beginning, she was always your slave girl. Why are you even talking to me about this? Because she was watching him respect her. And everybody's watching him respect Hagar. And he did it because he's a good man, not necessarily because he loves her more than Sarai. It was just out of, this is how I'm going to treat you. Now you carry my son. But Sarah goes, well, then apparently she's more important to you than me. And now she's taking offense at the plan that she hatched. Mm-hmm. Now he goes, she's still your slave girl. She's always been a slave girl. Why are you upset with me? It's because I won't mistreat her. I'm not going to mistreat her. But this is your slave girl. Whatever you think needs to happen to get her back in her place, that's between you and her. So Sarah now is just venting everything on Hagar. Not just the contempt, but the fact that she can't have a baby. The fact that everybody is respecting Hagar. I mean, she's just letting her have it. Reminding her of her position. Very just interesting family dynamics, which is precisely why the Lord advises us not to do this. That's exactly why the Bible tells us not to do this. Because you see terrible dynamics happen in Jacob's family, when the same thing happens with him. With the multiple wives and concubines, it always causes all types of problems. Because there's going to be jealousy and envy and strife and all these different things. Yes, ma'am.
And I was going to say, I always look at Hagar as also having the hurt from knowing she could never have her own husband. Yes. Because even though that's a custom, right, emotions are still there.
Oh, definitely. And it was, she didn't have a choice in that.
Right, and not having the choice of being able to have her own husband.
Exactly.
Could also be an issue in that.
Certainly. And in this society, that was not something people ever cared about. They never considered it. Women didn't have a voice. If you were a maid servant, they didn't care if you were getting married, and they didn't care to hear your heart about it. You know what I mean? Like, it was not something you got to display. So now she's about to have the master's baby. She does get to display some of that. Exactly. Because now she's getting what she probably had hoped for. That's a very good point.
Yeah, she probably wanted her own husband and not even able to live with.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Which is going to lead right back to what we're talking about, even that area of hope. You know, something she had hope for that she didn't get, and now she's in this position. And so we see a lot of people dealing with disappointment. You know what I mean? I hope for something, but I'm disappointed. And it can manifest in terrible ways. Disappointment can manifest in terrible ways in our lives. Verse 7. The angel of Adonai found her, and it's going to be Hagar, because she runs away from Sarah, in verse 6. Found her by a spring in the desert, the spring on the road to Shur. And he said to her, Hagar, Sarai's slave girl, where have you come from and where are you going? She answered, I'm running away from my mistress Sarah. The angel of Adonai said to her, go back to your mistress and submit to her authority. The angel of Adonai continued to say to her, I will greatly increase your descendants. There will be so many that it will be impossible to count them. The angel of Adonai said, look, you are pregnant and you will give birth to a son. You are to call him Ishmael. God pays attention because Adonai has paid attention to your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man with his hand against everyone, everyone's hand against him, living his life at odds with all his kinsmen. So she named Adonai, who had spoken with her, El Roi, God of seeing. And other versions say God who sees me. Because she said, have I really seen the one who sees me and remained alive? Which is what the complete Jewish is going to add. This is why the well has been called Be'er Lahak Roi, a well of the one who lives and sees. It lies between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the son whom Hagar had born Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. Now, let's do the math. Remember I shared with you when Sarah has, or it should be Sarah at that point, when she has Isaac, she's 80. Abram is 100. That means she's 20 years younger than him. He's 86 when Ishmael was born. That means she was 66. So if you remember where we were looking back at her hope deferred, excuse me, at 66, most people would give up hope thinking they're going to have a child. Does that make sense? Now, we don't know at the age, you know, when this was menopause back then. If we just look at our lifespan, at 66, most women are not thinking I'm going to have a child. So this is what she was. She's 66 years old, thinking I'm probably not going to have a child. Hagar's thinking I'm probably not going to get married. Abram's thinking I'm probably not going to have a child with Sarah or Sarai. Everybody's losing hope. And so this plan is hatched that actually causes division in the household. It causes division in the household during the pregnancy, division in the household after the child is born, causes Hagar and Ishmael to be sent away, which you're going to see later. And then the Lord himself says through this angel that even Ishmael, this baby born out of all of this strife and human decision, It's going to be a wild donkey of a man living at odds with his brothers. And the sons of Ishmael are going to birth a religion, which we call Islam now. And we're going to see that enmity still exists in the Middle East. That enmity that was prophesied right here between Ishmael and later his younger son Isaac, that enmity is still going on today, thousands of years later. The point I'm making here is that disappointment is a very serious thing. We're going to look at Proverbs and it's going to minister to our heart. Disappointment is very serious. As humans, we can't afford to pretend that we're not disappointed, because disappointment will cause us to malfunction. It will cause us to make really poor choices. And if we don't really deal with our disappointment, if we don't really honestly take an inventory of why we're disappointed, in whom we're disappointed, what did God promise, and be honest with God when we're at a place of losing hope. If we don't do that, we won't get the directions to keep us on track, or to redirect us back on track. Sometimes we lose hope, we're already straight off. And he's like, let me redirect you back before we were birthed in Ishmael. Believers often say that, I almost birthed in Ishmael, we're about to birth in Ishmael. What it means is, in a place of discouragement, I birthed a plan that's not God's plan. And even though his promise is still waiting for me to get into the position that he has ordained, I birthed something contrary to his promise, which either keeps his promise from being fulfilled or winds up competing against his promise later in the future, which is going to cause me to really miss out on the fullness of what God had for me. Now, that is a real thing. It happens to believers and unbelievers alike, because the human heart is deceptive above all things and mortally sick, and that's everybody's heart. That's Jeremiah 17. Yours, mine, all of our hearts. And we've got to spend time getting to know our hearts. Jeremiah 17 said that only God himself can discern our heart. So I've got to spend time in God's presence, really dealing with my emotions. And that, it does take exactly what I said, time. That's not something that I can just, I'm going to go to a quick Bible study and read this verse and read that scripture, and I'm going to say this thing, and then I'm going to be done. No, we've got to walk with the Lord. And we got to really let him reveal the true contents of our heart to us. Because we can even convince ourselves that we don't care. Like, I'm sure Hagar had told us, I don't care if I'm getting mad, I'm never getting mad, I don't care. But as soon as her lifestyle changed, it was revealed she did care. Sarah might have told herself, I'm not gonna be upset if this slave woman has his baby, because she's still my slave, and it's gonna be my baby in my household. But we saw when we got pregnant, she was upset. You see that there are things that we've got to recognize about ourselves and take a real inventory about ourselves when we're making decisions. There are certain things that we would like to concede to. We would like to say, I'm okay with that. I want to be that person. I want to be that person who does not mind this scenario. I want to be that person that can withstand this and can go through that and can smile in that. The truth is, if that is not how I feel, I need to be honest with myself. I need to be honest with God, and there may be other people in my life that I need to be honest with too. Because disappointment and discouragement will cause us to do things that we never thought we would. And we see in Abram's household, I am sure that he never ever thought he'd be dealing with those type of problems in his household. I'm sure he never did.
What they did was an act of spontaneity. They
out of emotion.
Out of emotions.
Exactly.
And they responded spontaneously.
Instead of really taking inventory of where they were.
That's right.
Yes. I got a question. Do you think that a lot of times that occur, because what came to my mind was that song, I Won't Complain, is that a lot of time out of religion and fear of complaining to God,
yes,
that we cover up those things that we're disappointed in, because we love God and we don't want to complain to him about situations in our lives. So we just say, okay, Lord, your will, and just leave it at that.
I think
that he's waiting for us to tell him
say exactly,
feel.
Because he's going to address it. When we say it to him,
that's right.
He wants
us to say everything.
A lot of times we don't have that faith. And that actually again is in the woman's word from today. We're talking about faith, hope, and love. I have to first have faith in God that he can handle my truth. You know what I'm saying? That he can take it and he's not going to cast me off. See, that's the faith in the relationship with God that I have to have. Lord, I feel this way. And a lot of times as believers, we'll feel like, well, I don't have a right to say that I'm discontented with my life. I don't have a right to say
But
that I'm
see-
not happy here. I don't have a right to say that. But it's not his will for us that we would stuff those things down. It's not his will that we would live half-fulfilled lives. He came that we would have life and life more abundant. And if I really trust him, I'm going to trust him with the truth of my emotions. So I can really allow him in to address it.
But see, it's not so much to just ourselves. It's also opening the door for Satan's deception.
Certainly.
Because it's a totally different story when you don't know anything about God. And you're totally ignorant of it. But when you know him,
Mm-hmm.
and you know he is the creator of heaven and earth and all things, and that he knows everything about you more than you know yourself,
right,
and stuff or whatever, that's where you can tell that the flesh part have allowed Satan to come in and say, okay, I done did this too bad to ask the good Lord to forgive me. Or I done did this, or I done called on him too much, or whatever. So if you have that relationship with him and you really, really, truly know who he really is, that he knows everything about you, the good, bad, the ugly, every emotion that you got, that he loves us so much that he wants us to tell him everything.
Right.
Every single thing. He already knows it.
Exactly.
He just wants us to tell it to him so that he can act accordingly to how his will will be.
Exactly. And it's a lot of times I think that we feel like, because it honestly, there are times in our lives where we're thinking, God, if this is your plan for me, I don't like it. I don't like this plan. I don't like the way this is working out. I don't like the way this is looking. I don't like the direction it's going in. And that may be the truth. Or God, you promised me something and it's taking too long. I don't feel like I can hold out that long. This is where Abraham and Sarah were. They were at a place where they felt like they couldn't go any further in believing in this promise the way they had believed in it. You see what I mean? A lot of times we feel like that is where we are in our hearts. But we don't feel the freedom in our relationship with God to say that, to share that with him and go, God, I am discontented, I'm disappointed, I'm hurt. Not necessarily that somebody did something, but I know this is not all you have for me. It cannot be everything you have for me. It's not possible that all those promises you made to me, and as far as you brought me, that this is what I'm supposed to be coming to. It's not possible that this is it. A lot of times we don't feel like we can be that candid with God. But that's where that faith comes in. I'm not just believing that he's going to answer my prayer, that he's going to fulfill the promises. I need to also believe that he is right there with me and he wants to hear me share what's in my heart. Not, again, like not because he doesn't know what he knows, but he wants me to let him in. I think we talked about it last week. When I share what's in my heart with God, I'm inviting him to speak back.
You know who knows that well? David knew that well.
Mm-hmm.
That's why rightfully he did earn the title of after God's own heart.
That's right.
Because David
Yeah.
shared everything
He did.
with God.
He did.
And David, that's what he wants us to do.
Right.
He knows it.
Right.
He knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows what we're going to do before we even do it.
Right.
All he wants us to do is to trust him and confide in him and tell him everything. That's all he wants. And see, Satan sometimes been on his shoulder for real, telling people, whatever, okay, oh, you done did too bad for call on the Lord for anything. Or to ask him for forgiveness.
Well, that's not a right desire in your heart.
That's right. Or you
Holy.
that's right. That's not holy.
Exactly.
You just did this yesterday, so how can you call on him or whatever? You know. So people do it for numerous reasons. They do it from other people putting the doubt there.
Mm-hmm.
They do it from themselves putting the doubt there. But his word does not come out void. He says, as long as you keep your faith in me,
That's right. And
I'm
that
your
faith,
father.
the faith is in knowing that he will reveal himself to be the God we need him to be. And it's wonderful. I went to Torah study a couple of weeks ago, and the teacher was talking about the name that God revealed to Moses in Exodus chapter 3, where we often say, I am that I am. But more specifically, he was very literal in what that meant. He said, what it really means is, I am becoming who you need me to be. And not that he's an idol, because God is not a God of our own making, that we turn him into what we want him to be. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that he continues to reveal himself to us as we walk this journey out with him, that I would see an aspect of his character while I'm going through that would minister to who I am and where I am. This is exactly what happened with Hagar. She said, you are the God who sees me. Mm-hmm. Because at that moment, she didn't need to be rescued, she needed to be seen. Mm-hmm. Sarah was treating her like a slave again. She went from being a slave to being the honored mother of the heir to back to being a slave again. And she said, I just want to be seen. Can somebody see me? Mm-hmm. Instead of just being a womb that can carry a baby, mm-hmm. or a slave that can bring you your food, can I be seen? Me. And the angel came and said, God sees you. Yes. He was revealing himself to be God who she needed him to be. And each one of us, when we're actually, pouring out our hearts, because she did. The angel says, where you coming from and where you going? The angel knew where she was coming from, where she was going. Mm-hmm. But the question was to engage her in conversation. She's like, I'm running away from Sarah. She's been treating me. My mistress has been treating me. So she lets him in. She tells him the truth. She doesn't go, oh, don't worry about it. I'll be fine. I'm good. Leave me alone. She didn't do that. She said, I'm running away. And so she's been honest about what's happening. Being mistreated by my mistress. So the angel is able to minister to her right where she is. And he, of course, is really speaking on behalf of the Lord. So we got to allow God to minister to us right where we are. No matter how discontented, discouraged, or condemned I may feel, I've got to let God in by being honest about those feelings. Because if I'm not, it will make me sick. And we're going to see that here. We're going to actually keep going. We're going to read in Proverbs 13, because that is going to be our focal verse. It's going to be verse 12, where we talk about hope deferred makes the heart sick. We're going to read all of Proverbs 12 and then get into John. A son who heeds his father's discipline is wise, but a scoffer doesn't listen to rebuke. And we're talking about natural fathers, but even your heavenly Father. This is Proverbs chapter 13, verse 1. When the Lord disciplines me, I need to listen. Like when the angel said, go back to Sarah, I submit to her authority. She needed to listen because there was a blessing coming forth out of her womb. Later on, she was going to be free from Sarah. Later on, she's going to be free from her. But at that moment, Ishmael had to grow up in the house of God. He had to grow up in that house. He had to be circumcised. And things had to happen to help him to walk into the place that God had for him and the place that he had for her. Because she had to learn more about the God of Abraham too. And so we see that we got to listen to God, even though he may not say back to us exactly what we want to hear. I want to listen. I want to redirect as he's telling me to redirect. And the quicker I do it, the better it'll be for me. The longer it takes for me to submit to his discipline, to direct and redirect, the longer it takes, the harder it's going to be on me. Not because he wants it to be hard, but because he's trying to position me for something. And if I'm fighting against that positioning, I'm going to be the one that's missing out. I didn't know that. Verse 2. A good man enjoys good as a result of what he says, but the essence of the treacherous is violence. Meaning that even if you're a betrayer, if you're treacherous, no matter what you do, it's not going to come back good to you or anyone else. You can't bear good fruit. It talks too much, comes to ruin. Meaning I got to be careful what comes out of my mouth. The lazy person wants but doesn't have. The diligent get their desires filled, whether you're the mistress or the master of the house, or whether you're the maidservant or the manservant. If you're diligent, you'll be blessed. And I'm sure Hagar was chosen because she was probably one of the better maidservants. She wasn't chosen because she was a lazy maidservant. They're not going to pick that woman to be the surrogate of the mother of the child's inheritance. And so your efforts will always be blessed by man and by God if you're being diligent in your work. A righteous person hates lying, but the wicked is vile and disgraceful. Righteousness protects him whose way is honest, but wickedness brings down the sinner. And all of that is going to speak to the fact that what I try to do, if my heart is not right, is going to come back to be destructive to me and to everybody else. There are those with nothing who pretend they are rich, and those with great wealth who pretend that they are poor. The rich man may have to ransom his life, but a poor man gets no threats. And that's why people would pretend. He's saying rich sometimes act like they don't have anything because they don't want people to come after what they have. But poor people may feel insecure in the fact that they don't have, so they pretend to have. When what he's saying is that, very honestly, when you have, there's more opportunity for people to covet what you do have. It puts you in a more dangerous position. And so if you don't have, rejoice in the fact that at least you're living free from threats. The light of the righteous shines joyfully, but the lamp of the wicked will be extinguished. It may not happen immediately, but you know that their end is coming. Remember that when you are starting to be envious of those who are living dishonest lives. Insolence produces only strife, but wisdom is found with those who take advice. So between Sarai and Hagar, there was lots of insolence going back and forth. Of course, we know Hagar is going to be the one who should have submitted to Sarai. So as she's raising up against her mistress, now it becomes even more strife in the household. Because she wouldn't submit. So that's what Abel says. Go back and be submissive. Don't just go back. Go back and be submissive. Because I've done it. It's something else I'm still doing. Wealth gotten by worthless means dwindles away, but he who amasses it by hard work will increase it. Hope deferred sick, but desire fulfilled is a tree of life. That's verse 12, and that is our key verse for today. Proverbs 13:12. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Now, this is what we got to talk about. We're going to look at it a little bit more as we go down, especially like in verse 19. The fact that it makes the heart sick doesn't just mean that, oh, I'm sad. When my heart is sick, because my heart is directly linked to my brain, that makes up the soul. The brain, my thoughts, my heart, my emotions, and my will and my guts, that makes up my soul. That is the essence of who I am. The body will pass away, but the soul doesn't. When I leave this earth and I stand before God, what's standing before him is my thoughts, my desires, and my will. That's what's standing before him. That's what's eternal. Doesn't go away. You have the same thoughts, desires, and will in heaven or in hell, depending on where you go. They won't change. That's why we've got to be directing those thoughts and desires and will while we're in the earth, because God is not going to miraculously change those after we die. Does that make sense? We're choosing to be who we want to be while we're in the earth now. So with those connections, my emotions, my thoughts, my will, which is going to be that which guides my choices. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. With them being connected in that way, if my heart starts to malfunction, meaning I had hoped in something, right? I'm believing God for something to pass. I lose faith in him, which will be demonstrated by the fact that I'm mad with him. You know, Lord, I can't believe you let this happen to me. You're not doing it. You know, I'm not praying anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. You know what I mean? Whatever. But I lose faith in him, and my relationship with him is going to be strained. I pull back from that relationship. Okay. The hope now is, remember we talked today is about when hope fails. Remember, hope doesn't actually fail. But what's happening is I'm giving up hope. Mm-hmm. Because I'm saying it is hurting me to keep hoping for this. So I would rather say I don't even want it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But the truth is I do still want it. I'm lying. It's just hurting to continue to wait. You see what I mean? And instead of addressing the hurt of continuing to wait, I act like I just don't want it no more. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You can have this. Don't even give me no heirs. Don't give me no promises. I don't want to be married. Just forget that. You know, people make decisions really trying to protect their hearts, but what we're actually doing is hurting our hearts more. And so now my heart is sick, is defective, because it has given up hope. Our heart it thrives off of faith, hope, and love. But I don't believe in God anymore. That's my faith. I'm not believing in his promises. I might believe he is God. I might believe he had a son who came and died for my sins and he sends his Holy Spirit. But I might not have faith in his love for me anymore. Faith in his promise for me. You see what I mean? So I'm losing that faith. I don't hope in what he promised me, the words in the Bible and the things I've heard specifically in my spirit or prophesied over me or things that I know that he made specifically for me. I don't believe those are going to happen anymore. The next thing that's going to happen is my love. My love is going to go cold. My heart is going to go cold. And when our hearts grow cold and calloused, it's not just in one direction. I'm not just hardened to one thing or one person. A hardened heart is hardened to everything. A cold heart is cold to everything. So if I stop believing in God, if I stop hoping in his promises, my love is going to start to die. When love in me starts to dwindle, my heart is sick. It is malfunctioning. And it's going to cause me to make decisions that I would not otherwise make. and I'm going to come out of character. You see what I mean? I'm not going to be behaving like myself. I'm going to be doing things differently than I would do it. And these are immediate decisions. But now it's going to start to affect my will. My life choices are going to be different now. The choices for where my future is going, all of that's going to be different now. See, all of this is the process that happens when people quit on things that really are important to them. Like if you look at somebody who was trying to have a business or trying to build a ministry and then they quit on it. What was it all of a sudden? What's happening is they lost faith in God, they lost hope in the promise, their love is getting cold, so they start to make decisions a little bit every day. I'm giving up on this, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to do that. So it starts to fade away, then finally their will kicks in and they go, that's not for me anymore. And they go in a completely different direction. People do that even with regard to lifestyle choices. I've been hurt by men. I've been hurt by women. Now I don't have the faith that God can actually give me a healthy relationship and make me healthy and send another healthy person to me to make me whole. I don't have a hope in God's promises anymore for a healthy relationship. Now my heart is cold, and instead of doing things God's way and loving on Him, letting Him heal me of all those broken relationships, that He might make me whole for something else, I quit on that completely. And I say, well, I'm just going to go and live this type of lifestyle. As if that's what He has ordained for my life. Or, I'm not even living, I don't care what He's ordained for my life anymore. This hurts less. Does that make sense? It hurts less than continuing to hope. This happens to a lot of people. When you see people take big course directions, you know what I mean? They were going in this direction, and they're way over here, and you're like, that's not even
360 degrees.
It's something is started right here first. And it's going to be right at that place of hope. Faith, hope, and love. It's going to be right there. And we read in the Proverbs already, we're talking about us guarding our hearts. Guard your hearts above all things, because out of your heart flow the issues of life. This becomes so important that we get to the place where we never let the fires of hope go down. Because a lot of things can kill our hope. A whole lot of things can kill our hope. And while we may love this, and while we may feel connected to that and committed to this, when we realize that something is destroying our hope, we have to do whatever we can to protect that hope. You understand what I mean? Because it will change us in ways that initially will be imperceivable. But after a while, we'll be in a completely different direction. Just like we talk about a boat, like it's going in this direction. All it's got to do is turn 1 degree. If it keeps going 12 hours, it's on a completely different course. And the same thing can happen with our lives, with our thought process, with our doctrine, with our relationship with God. It can be sent on a completely different course because we've allowed our hope to be dwindled. We've allowed it to be, that light to be extinguished in us. And we've got to take inventory of ourselves. When we see ourselves start to malfunction, I'm not doing what I would do. I'm not speaking like I would speak. I'm not planning like I would plan. I'm not loving like I would love. My heart is sick. Don't take that. When your heart gets sick, stop. Go to the physician and tell him something.
Hallelujah.
When you get there and tell him something is wrong, he's going to say, I've been waiting for you. I knew something was wrong. I'm so glad you're here. Let me tell you what you need to do. Now, the what you need to do part may be hard. Because it may not be what we would expect. It may not be what we would like. It may not be what would feel good to us. But He knows us. He knows our heart, and He knows the promise better than we know the promise. Had Abram gone back to God, like he did in chapter 15, he would have told him, Sarah is the wife of the promise. No, because he asked him about the guy in his household. This man is going to, no, it's not going to be that guy. It's not going to be it. It's going to be somebody from your own line. So if he came to him and said, hey, what about Hagar? I think she's going to be the one. He's like, no, it's not going to be her. It's going to be Sarah. But he didn't ask it.
He didn't ask.
You see what I mean? His heart was hurting. Sarah's heart was hurting. Nobody asked God.
Nobody asked him.
They figured this must be the way. When we ask Him, He's going to tell us what it takes to get us to that place of the promise. Now, if we don't ask Him, we birth the Ishmael, doesn't mean that He can't still get us to the promise. What it does mean is that it might be harder and it might take longer. That's what it means. As long as there's breath in our bodies, He can still fulfill that promise, and He still wants to. That's the faith part. That's the faith. I have to believe He still wants to fulfill that promise. He's not looking at me going, oh, you messed that up. There is no way I'm giving that to you now. He's not doing that. He will say, okay, you got to take another route. You know, like GPS, rerouting. You might have to go all the way around here to get back to it. But he can reroute. The problem is, if I realize that I'm off track, or if I realize that my heart is sick, I don't keep going back to him for that rerouting. I'm going to be so far off course that when he drops the promise, I'm nowhere near the vicinity of where I need to be to pick that promise up. Does that make sense? So I gotta stay in that place of faith in God, hope in the promise, and love that he gives me. Not the love that I want to love, but the love that he gives. Does that make sense? Because he doesn't love the way we love. He does not love the way we love. Our love is flawed. God loves perfectly. And he can teach us how to do it. The way we do it is always going to be off from his love. I actually talked about that in the women's word today as well.
And his word don't come
you
back
need to watch
void.
today's women's word. It doesn't.
Everything he says he's going to do, he's going to do. His word don't come back void.
Exactly. Verse 13. He who despises a word will suffer for it, but he who respects the command will be rewarded. Now that goes right with what I was just talking about. My heart is hurting. I go to the physician and I say, I'm losing faith. I don't believe anymore. Help me. And he says, well, then do this. He gives me the course correction. I go, oh, that can't be right. If I despise that word, I'm going to suffer for it. Does that make sense? Like, people have lived certain things where they were like, man, I had an opportunity for such and such, and I didn't take it because I was afraid, and I figured that can't be God. Well, that door might close, literally. God can open another one, but that door might close. Because it may be that he needs to put somebody else in that position. You weren't available. He's got to put somebody else there. Now he may have to open a completely different door for you. Will he still fulfill the promise? Yes. But it may be through a different door. It may not be through that same door. Because you didn't believe the word. You didn't heed the word. When he told you this is the course correction, you didn't believe it. Remember that faith. That faith is essential. If I want my hope back, I got to believe God. Next. The teaching of a wise man is a fountain of life, enabling one to avoid deadly traps. This is essential because, remember, my heart is sick, so I might not have all the best wisdom. Somebody else might have to speak into my life. A wise person may have to speak instruction into my life. Now, God has given the word. That was verse 13. God gave the word. He gave the command. Prayerfully, I won't despise it. I'm going to course correct. But the next verse 14, I might need some wisdom. I might need some people who've been down this road that I'm about to go down to give me a little bit of instruction, because while my heart is still sick, I'm still liable to make some bad decisions. You see, I'm still liable to mess this up a little bit because my heart is still sick. So I'm listening to the word from God, but now I need some wise instruction also. See, I need stuff coming from all different directions because I'm recognizing that my heart is sick. This is like a person who really literally has a bad heart, goes to a physician, has heart surgery. When they are in recovery, they can't do that by themselves. They need people at their bedside. That's not the doctor. These are loving family members. These are loving friends that will be at the bedside, bringing you what you need, feeding you, making sure you eat, make sure you get up when they say get up, and that you rest when you're supposed to rest. That is important. All of those things will be important to get my heart back on, get my heart back straight. But I gotta let people in. I gotta let God in first, because then he's gonna tell me humans to let him. You can't let everybody in.
That's right.
Because some humans will put you right back off the track. You messed up again.
Well, some people deliberately do it.
Some will do it deliberately, and some will just unknowingly because they're religious or they're whatever. What we were talking about earlier, that just mess you all up. God will say, listen to them. Listen to them. They love you, they know you, and they're hearing from you. That's going to give you the real-time, everyday instruction that you need, and you're going to need it. I'm telling you, none of us is exempt. None of us is above this. We all need this, especially if we're in a place where our heart is hurting and our hope is starting to dwindle. We really need it.
And he's a God of confirmation, because when he send you that someone or someone's or whatever, you'll know it. You'll know it is from him.
Right.
You know, if you got any question, any doubt, or anything, that person that didn't come from him.
That's a good point.
But if that person came to you from him, you're gonna know it 100%. You're gonna know.
That's true. Even the people who tell you what you want to hear when it's not God,
you're gonna know
that.
You're gonna know.
You're like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, but I know that ain't even what I'm supposed to hear. You're gonna know that's not right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because you let him in now, and he's going to reveal to you that which is for you and that which is not for you. Just don't reject it. And he's revealing it, no matter how hard it is, don't reject the truth. Verse 15. Good common sense produces grace, but the way of the treacherous is rough. Now let me tell you about this one right here. My heart is already hurt. Don't try to hurt people and get them back. I'm sure somebody hurt you. Don't try to hurt them and get them back. You are not worried about their course. God has got them. God is going to deal with them. You stay on your course. Because if you dig a pit, you can fall into it yourself. You set a trap, you can fall into the trap yourself. You let God do other people. I don't care who hurt you and how they hurt you. Let God redirect their course. You stay focused on your course. Because if you're using good common sense is going to do the best for me and the best for everybody involved. If I'm using good common sense, God is going to give me grace. When stuff looks like it's not going to pull through, he's going to pull it through for me. Because I'm thinking. I'm using my mind. I'm using godly wisdom, which starts with the fear of the Lord. You see what I mean? That is going to give me grace. With men and with God. Even when people don't want to give me grace, God will make sure that they do. Because I'm thinking about it and I'm operating the way I ought to. I'm doing it the right way. They don't gotta agree with you.
That's right.
But if you're doing what God told you to do, he's going to make sure that the grace comes through. And that you can rely on. Because when we started with that trust, I got to trust him again. I got to faith in him again. He will give me that grace if I keep my head on. But if I start trying to focus on making sure you get yours, now I'm going to be off track.
That's right.
Because especially when my heart is sick. You don't need to be thinking nothing about nobody else's course when your heart is sick. You've got to be focused on your own course. Verse 16. Every cautious person acts with knowledge, but a fool parades his folly. When my heart is sick, I better be the cautious person. Because if I'm not the cautious person, I'm automatically going to be a fool. Because I recognize something's going on here. God is still healing my heart. So I can't just move. I can't just act. I can't be emotional because I'm going to be the fool. And that foolishness, that folly will be shown to everybody. Everybody's going to see that I'm being foolish. It's just going to be revealed. You see what I mean? But if instead I'm cautious and I'm going, okay, wait a minute. I know, okay, I'm hurting a little bit. I've been off course for a while. God is redirecting me back. Let me pray about that. Let me think about it. I don't make quick decisions. That caution is going to give me some knowledge. It's going to give me some wisdom. It's going to allow me to make good decisions. Does that make sense? Right. Next, verse 17. A wicked messenger falls into evil, but a faithful envoy brings healing. And this is going to be about your friends. When God has sent them, their words are going to be healing to you. But if the enemy sends that person, they themselves will fall into evil. But if you listen, you'll fall into it. So it's important that you know who the envoys are that come.
That's right.
Poverty and shame are for him who won't be taught. But he who heeds reproof will be honored. And there's some course corrections that can be costly. God may have you give up a job, give up a career, whatever, because he's like, that wasn't my will for you. I'm trying to get you back on track. And it may cost you for a season, but he's going to give those things back to you and build you up and give you a stable foundation. But for those who are just not listening, it'll cost them, and it will cost them forever. You see what I mean? When they lose out forever. God doesn't rebuild them. If you got a wrong foundation and he's rebuilding you, you may lose a little bit of things while he's rebuilding the foundation. But if you're not listening to him at all, you will lose and you will stay at a place of loss. It won't come back because he can't trust you. See, this is important that I'm allowing him to correct. Verse 19 is key as well. Desire fulfilled is sweet to the soul, but turning away from evil is abhorrent to fools. He who walks with the wise will become wise, with companion of fools will suffer. And those two will be together. Why is it important for me? Because at some point my desire is going to be fulfilled, and I have to keep hoping on that. And as I hope on that, I got to know that's going to be sweet to me. And even my hope is sweet. As I think on what God's going to do, I don't know what it's going to look like. It's sweet to me. And that's going to give me what my soul needs to keep me through the times where I'm persevering. But while I'm doing that, I have to turn away from evil. I can't let the enemy tempt me with getting it quickly in some type of wicked way. Remember trying to do that with Yeshua? Remember? You just bow down to me, I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world.
You already got
me. Recognizing, okay, you're a king, but look, let me give it to you right now. You don't got to go through all that stuff God said you would do. You don't got to go through none of that. I give it to you right now. Just bow down to me. And he does the same thing for us too. Oh, you can have that right now. You don't got to wait. You don't got to go through the proper channels. You don't got to mature. You're ready now. You're ready. Just do it. And what it will do is it will build poor character. And it will connect us with the enemy in a covenant where God can't bless. God can't give us the promise. The enemy will give us something, but it'll be short-lived. The stuff the enemy gives is only short. It never will last. God gives are forever. They're perpetual. They're enduring. So we got to be perseverant and we got to be patient and let him bring us to those things. We can't try to rush into them because if we do, we can sabotage ourselves. And so I want to be the wise and not the fool, because the fool will suffer. Amen. Evil pursues sinners, meaning that evil is going to follow behind them. It may not catch up to them for a while, but it's going to find them. But prosperity will reward the righteous. And you know, a reward might not come in the beginning, it may come later as well, but it's going to come. A good man leaves an inheritance for his grandchildren, but the wealth of a sinner is stored up for the righteous, meaning that his children and grandchildren will not get that inheritance. The fields of the poor may yield much food, but some are swept away because of injustice. And so if I'm a righteous man and God is building that prosperity in me as a reward and it's left to my descendants, I'm also teaching them the wisdom that they might be able to withstand injustice. Because if I don't, the enemy will still try to come and rob them later. And this is not just of wealth. And the Lord teaches me how to live a healthy lifestyle. God teaches me how to have healthy relationships. That's got to be stuff I pour into my children and my grandchildren. Because if I don't, the enemy will come deliberately to rob them of the very deliverances and ministry that God gave to them. Does that make sense? Verse 24. He who fails to use a stick hates his son, but he who loves him is careful to discipline him. Why? Because when I leave him that inheritance, I don't want him to give it over to him. He's going to have discipline within himself. As I discipline my child, he's going to self-discipline. If he has self-discipline, that's one of the fruits of the Spirit, that's self-control. As he has that, he's going to hold on to the inheritance the Lord gave me to pass on to him and his children. Amen? And it doesn't matter what it is. Inheritance always sounds like money and property, which of course it is, but it's more than that. If I'm making breakthroughs in the spiritual realm, my family, for lines, for generations, should be benefiting from those breakthroughs. Yes, sir.
Can't inheritance be knowledge?
It can be knowledge.
Yes.
You can certainly inherit knowledge from your parents, and you should. From your parents and grandparents. If they learn the trade, if they learn the skill, if they learn the ways of the world, you should certainly inherit that. And you'll notice it happens in family lines. You have families of entrepreneurs. You have families of businessmen. You have families of teachers. You have families of professors. You have families of caregivers, because they teach it and pass it on to their children. And they become even better at it because they've had the experience of the people who came before them, and the doors open that they can just walk through in the spiritual realm and in the natural realm. So that's exactly what we ought to do. Does that make sense? You should inherit knowledge.
Yes.
The righteous person eats his fill, but the belly of the wicked is empty. And why is the belly of the wicked empty? It's empty because he's never satisfied with anything. The wicked man, he always wants more. This is not enough, this is not enough, I want yours, I want yours, I want yours. So his belly is always empty because he keeps stretching it out. He won't let nothing ever fill him. The righteous are satisfied and they allow God to be satisfied. Yes, ma'am.
Because the joy of life comes from knowing God and in God. So therefore, things that you get from other things will never satisfy that, because it's not God.
It wasn't about that.
Yeah.
Yes. But for the wicked, because it is about that, those things actually never really satisfy.
Yeah.
Because you always gotta have more. That's right. Now we're gonna read John, and we're actually finishing up John 9. We read most of it already, but I do want to bring us to the great how to shine with the new covenant. John chapter 9, and I'm going to start back up at verse 24. Though we read that part and go down to 41, so that we can see a little bit of hope failing here and what happens as that fails. This is John chapter 9, verse 24. And begin, Yeshua had just healed the man who was born blind, and now he's been questioned by the Sanhedrin. The Pharisees and Sadducees are questioning him about Yeshua because Yeshua healed him on Shabbat, and they're trying to accuse Yeshua. That's the whole point. Verse 24. So a second time they called the man who had been blind, and they said to him, "Swear to God that you will tell the truth. We know that this man is a sinner." And they're talking about Yeshua. He answered, "Whether he's a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind. Now I see." So they said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" "I already told you," he answered, "and you didn't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Maybe you too want to become his Talmudim, his disciples." Then they railed at him. "You may be his Talmud or disciple, They said, but we are Talmudim of Moshe, meaning we're students, we're disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moshe, but as for this fellow, we don't know where he's from. What a strange thing, the man answered, that you don't know where he's from, considering that he opened my eyes. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but if anyone fears God and does his will, God does listen to him. In all history, no one has ever heard of someone opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he couldn't do a thing. Why, you mamzer, they retorted, are you lecturing us? And they threw him out. So they really called him a defiled, unholy man. Is actually not a good word. They're speaking to him at this time. And they're saying, we're righteous, you are unrighteous. You need to get out of our presence because we're the righteous people who have the standard here. Now, this is where his hope could have started to fail. Now, let me tell you what has happened. The man has been blind his whole life. Now, the temple, now some of you guys are watching, you can't necessarily see, but you guys can see it here. This is just the outside. Inside, it was beautiful. We got gold all over the walls. And at this point, Herod had been rebuilding it, so you had these beautiful, elaborate courtyards. The temple was beautiful. And he's been there many times begging, but he has never been able to see. Now he can see. He can see the beautiful synagogues, the beautiful structures. He can see the beautiful temple. He can see the beautiful roads. He can see now. Now, this is the first time when really he would be able to come into a worship experience and all of his senses could be able to enjoy worship. Just when it happened, they get kicked out. Kicked out of the assembly. Now, when I couldn't see, I could roll up and can see what was going on. I can see now y'all kicking me out. It would have been easy for his hope to fail. You see what I mean? God just did this great miracle, and now I can't even go worship him because the religious leaders just kicked me out of the worship assembly. Now, for most of us, that's not a big deal. There's a church on every corner where we are, and there's a synagogue every few miles. So no matter how you worship, you can find another place to worship. You got a car, you can drive to a completely different city to worship. But in this day and time, the synagogue was within a geographic region, and if you lived near it, that was the only one that you would ever be able to travel to. And if you were going to temple, you had to go 3 times a year. There was only one in the entire nation. So if you got kicked out, you didn't get to worship with your people no more. Feast days missed. All these beautiful wonders missed. No more. You don't get to do it anymore. That's a big deal.
Big deal.
Especially for a person who now at this point in his life has more to worship God for than he ever did. You understand what I'm saying? At this point, it could be like, I just got my eyes. And now you saying I can't even worship. Not in the assembly. I can't come for Sukkot. I can't come for Shabbat. Oh, I can't come for Passover. I'm going to miss everything. And I'm telling you, these festivals were blessed and beautiful. Like, this is not just, oh, it's a nice little, No, this is really a big deal. They're kicking him out of the religious life of Israel.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Now, when he really can enjoy, this is what's happening. And his hope could have been failing right there. That's why we had to reread that part there. He could have been like, I can't believe this. And one day, I get my eyes and I get kicked out of the assembly. How did that happen in one day? You see what I mean? Really, he could have completely lost hope. Look at what happens. I love it. Let's keep going. Verse 35. Yeshua heard that they had thrown the man out. He found him and said, do you trust in the Son of Man? Sir, he answered, tell me who he is so that I can trust in him. Yeshua said to him, you have seen him. In fact, he's the one speaking with you now. Lord, I trust, he said, and he kneeled down in front of him. Yeshua said, it is to judge that I came into this world, so that those who do not see might see, and those who do see might become blind. Some of the Persians, the Pharisees, nearby heard this and said to him, so we're blind too, are we? Yeshua answered them, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But since you still say, we see, your guilt remains. Now let me tell you what God just did. Can't see my whole life. The man's like 40 years old. Whole life can't see. Now he can see. Healed on Shabbat. So on Shabbat, he's actually in Shalom. He's actually whole now. The religious leaders kick him out of the assembly. So now, although he got one glance at everything beautiful, he didn't get to actually experience a worship experience. Not one. and he's kicked out and still in Israel forever. But God himself and the man Yeshua walks up, because he didn't see him when he healed.
Hallelujah.
He didn't see him when he healed. He walks up to him because he said, because they kicked you out of the religious assembly, I'm going to let you see me with your own eyes.
Yes,
So
yes,
this man gets the privilege and the honor of seeing the God who saw him. This is the same God that saw Hagar when she was in the desert.
Yes,
He is
yes.
the God
Yes.
who sees me.
Yes.
Not only did he show up to heal him, he came back to make sure that he could see him with his own eyes.
Yes, he
Then
did.
he gave him retribution
Yes, he
in front of
did.
the religious leaders, and he said, y'all are the ones that are blind. This
Yes.
man that was blind, not only can he see, but he has seen the face of the living God, and you guys will never see him.
Hallelujah.
That is what God will do for his people. If you're in a place of losing your hope, you're losing faith in God, your heart is sick, but you say, Lord, I want to see.
Yes.
Let me see you in the midst of this. God will not only open your eyes, but he will show you his face. And that, I don't care what anybody else does to you. That will be worth every other sacrifice you have to make. Because just like he told Abram, he is a very great reward.
Yes.
If I get nothing else in this life, but I see God, every desire I've ever had.
That's when he's running back out the words, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see.
Son,
Yes, they shall see. That's why you don't let
I
that
love
heart
my God.
You don't.
I
Not
am
your heart.
excited and I am encouraged. I pray that you are encouraged as well. Because the messages that the Lord gives me are not those beautiful, flowery, make you feel good ones. It's truth that's going to minister
It's the truth.
to your soul.
Yes.
Because God's people are not always in the most flowery, beautiful places. Sometimes we're in some real places.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those places are real hard. And the Lord himself is the only one who can minister to us in those places.
Yes.
What we just read, you saw how he took those words?
Yes.
Took the Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, that's going to be writing the prophets,
Yes.
and then he took the Brit Hadashah and he brought those things together. So that whoever was in a place of losing hope, he already knew. And he set this day aside, this day, that he could encourage you. I hope you receive it. I hope you're blessed. And I pray that you will meditate on those scriptures. That when you get to a place of hopelessness, you won't quit.
Yes.
You will see God and let him show you his face. Next week, I'll be broadcasting out of Israel. So I'm looking forward to sharing that Bible study with you from the Holy Land. Be blessed until